Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team. Culture is that buzzword that is used a lot now, but and as Coach Fitch from Birdville said, culture. He said that we never even used to use that word, but it's always been around. It's the standards.
Yes,
it's the way that you show up every day and choose to be. So, how, in your opinion, does culture drive performance?
Well, for me, when you ask the coach, hey, what's your culture? Ask players, hey, what's your culture? A lot of times they'll give you, we work hard, we run offensively, we press, whatever it is. To me, I think a program has to have an identity to where you ask the players, you ask the coaches, what's our culture, what's our identity, and they all give you the same answer. To me, and for our program, it's 5 for 1. We put on everything, our social media, our shirts, every sign in our locker room. But obviously, your culture isn't a sign, isn't a shirt. It's what you do every day, your habits. And for us, it's 5 for 1. And what that means is it's on the most basic level. It's 5 guys playing for one thing, and that's the team. But really, it's about every decision we make, everything we do is about the team and serving others. And to me, if a kid can identify with that, and it makes them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. And we do it in every aspect of our program. It's about 5 for 1. What we're doing for the team. How does this drill? How does this player run in a game? Who plays to pregame meal? It's all about the team, and it's the culture we're trying to build here at the Southlake Carroll. And they're getting there. It's hopefully, it turns in almost like an adjective how they describe anything. Hey man, that was very 5 for 1 of you. That
Nice.
wasn't 5 for 1. So to me, I think it's really important that you have an identity that everyone can gravitate to, and be detailed with it.
I think you're right on the money with that idea of ask anybody in your program, and hopefully they can identify the phrase or a few phrases that's what your program is all about. And sometimes, I don't know if you've ever felt like this. I'll finish a game, and I'll think back, or maybe even watching film of an opponent. I don't really know what their identity is, what they're trying to accomplish. Even if, we still sometimes, if teams aren't successful in trying to do what they're trying to do, we can tell and we know. I like what you said about how culture, it isn't just your offense, your defense, running and gunning, shooting threes, anything like that. It's that, and also how you live off the floor. I thought that was good.
Yeah. And for us, it's, talk about watching video. We had a parent film one of our fall league games the other day, and we're just watching that, and to me it goes way beyond just how do we do defensively? Did we jump to the ball? Did we set a great screen here or there? It's are we being good teammates? And for us, we watch a lot of video, obviously, and we got a big sign in our locker room. And it talks about being 5 for 1 and doing things that require extra effort and showing unity. And so what we'll do is we'll go back and I'll watch the game, and obviously we chart the regular stuff, stat it, all those kind of things. But we also chart, did we get loose balls? Did we take charges? Did we run in transition? Did we pick teammates up when they fell? Like the expectation is, we all 4 of our guys to sprint and go pick them up. When we sub, the expectation is that everyone on the bench stands up to celebrate their teammates. When you make a big 3, we make a big deal of this. You hit a shot, we don't do the arrow or the 3. It's you point to your passer. You thank your teammate for a great pass. And we really hammer those things every single day, and to the point where it's second nature to those guys. And one of my favorite things is, on free throws, the expectation is you get a touch, make or miss, you get a touch.
Hmm.
So these guys get in the habit where they shoot a free throw and they won't even look back. They'll put their hands back because they know two teammates are coming
Yeah.
to give them a touch, give them a high five. And doing those things, it gives kids something to buy into. And it's when they see it, we do those things, we chart it, we put the sticker up, the dragon magnet on our board, they see it. And it makes them feel a part of something that's, something that can be special and something that can buy into.
I love that. Once you start once you have those standards, then and players are starting to live up to. They start to look forward to those markers, like you said, of putting magnets up. Then the responsibility is on you
Mhm.
as a coach to continue to do those things, because I
Sure.
think as positive as it is to do the things that you're doing, you take a break, you stop, you forget. I
Mhm.
think it quickly erodes and goes away, right?
Yeah. And to me, it's not just our players. Like, the expectation is our coaches are preaching the 5-for-1 stuff. Our parents understand it. Um, because to be a great program, it takes everyone pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, all the
I think
stakeholders for sure.
they have to have, what our identity is in mind at all times. And if we make a shot in practice during the drill and we don't point to the passer, we stop it. Say, hey man, tell your teammate good pass. And and kids, they're going to do what you tell them to do for the most
That's
part.
right.
They want to celebrate each other, and they get it pretty quick.
Yeah. Talk about fall league a little bit,
Mhm.
and because I do like to have this conversation with coaches about spring league, fall league. What positives do you see from
Mhm.
having your teams participate in it?
Man, I'll tell you what, I go back and forth on fall league and spring league because these kids, they're playing so much,
Yep.
especially in the spring and summertime, which is great. So in the spring and summer, we kind of back off. We have our workouts, but that's the AAU season, and those guys, they're doing a lot,
Yeah.
and so we want to give them that time. And when the fall gets here, we kind of want to ramp up a little bit. I'm always kind of worried about doing too much still because you want to be healthy. When October 26th rolls around, and right now at the moment we're kind of beat up right now,
Hmm.
and we played in a shootout this past weekend with 7 guys.
Oof.
And it's
Three
good
games,
because,
7 guys. Yeah.
yeah, your younger guys are getting some much needed experience. So I think there's a balance there.
Yeah.
But I think it is important to kind of, you're starting to put in some offense, some defensive stuff you want to do through the year, see what looks good, what you got to work on. I think it's important, but I struggle at times to find how much is too much, how much is not enough. But I do think it is important to get your guys into some competition for sure.
Coach, I don't always volunteer my thoughts or my opinions on things, because this is really about you. But I mean, if
I
you
love
don't
to hear it,
mind,
Coach.
I'd love to tell you what kind of where I've become, because I had this talk with our girls coach all
Mhm.
the time about that stuff. So do you mind if I kind of
No,
share
no, for sure.
what
Go
I
ahead. I'd love
think?
to hear it.
All
I'd love to
right.
hear it.
Man, years ago we had a player named Tyler Lumblade that played for us all the way up through his junior year. It was right before the COVID year. He went and moved to North Carolina to go to a prep school, but he was incredible. And when he was going after his sophomore year, he was going to be doing some EYBL stuff with Drive Nation. I know that's a higher level than the
Mhm.
majority of our players that are going to play select ball, are. But like you said, they do have 2 seasons. That was well said. They have 2 seasons now. They have school season and select season. And I love how you back off. You let them, because we don't want to in school season say, hey, it's about Southlake Carroll, nothing else. But now select season say, oh yeah, go do that, but it's still about this. And
Yeah.
like, we can't do that, and there's going to be unneeded friction with our players.
Mhm.
So I asked Tyler, hey, what a here's something coaches to think about. Like, ask your players, not just your best players, but your players, your major stakeholders in your program, like, well, what works best for you? What do you feel like is going to help you to
Mhm.
become the best player? Because we want that input from our players. And so for Tyler, it was, does spring league help you? Well, not really, because I've got practices the other nights.
Yeah.
I'm playing on the weekend, and we got to remember, coach, like, they still have homework,
Absolutely.
and they're still high school kids. So
Yeah.
we pulled away from that, and I loved it. And
Mhm.
then the fall league and the shootouts came around, and that part of me that I played in them as a player when I was at McKinney High School, we did them, and all these other coaches are doing them. So like that, we sometimes I think our players have that fear of being left out. Like I think coaches do too. And it's like if everybody else is doing it, man, we got to be doing it too. We're going to get behind.
Yeah.
And well, Coach, I haven't done a fall league in 4 or 5 years now. And I used to put a few in shootouts, but then probably like you, I was like, well, I'm only going to do shootouts if everybody can do that. If everybody's going to be there, well, crap, you got 1 or 2 that are out of town that weekend.
Yeah.
And then, this fall, it's like we're ramping up for our season. I don't want them to get injured in games that don't matter.
Yeah.
I know every game matters, right? But they don't. And I can't coach them. Even at a private school, I can't coach them, which I don't know about you. It's frustrating to sit up in the stands and watch it. And then I also thought to myself, I'm holding players accountable for things that, I mean, I can only hold them accountable for things that we've truly been working on. And I think sometimes, I love the idea of filming it and going back over it with players. But then the danger is that I'm getting onto them about things that, maybe a year ago we worked on, but we're not really working on now. And then the final thing was I saw players starting to make some decisions on how it's going to be from a fall league game. And I'm like, so even TABC shootout during the summer, first meeting with the guys, which that one I like because college coaches are there. We can coach them. And it's like, okay, we're part of the process. But I even told them meeting, I said, number one, what happens this weekend does not mean it's going to happen in November, December, good or bad. So this weekend is just what it is. And so all that to say, I haven't felt like we're behind in not doing fall leagues. I think the kids get to go home after school and they don't have to see me or hear from me or do anything. But that's just kind of where I've gotten to it but I think also like maybe I kind of gotten on the fringe of something like even training and shooting threes and all that to where I don't mind thinking a little differently, but that feeling of, man, everybody else is doing this. Like it's still there.
It's funny. So you mentioned the great Coach Fitch a few minutes ago. We've had some great talks. And one of those was about fall league and spring league. I remember sitting next to him a couple of years ago when I was at Chisholm Trail. We're sitting there and he just goes, "What are we doing? Why are we doing this?" And I said, "Because you're in this, because you're doing this, right?" And it's kind of, well, if Colorado Heritage is doing it, then we got to do it. If Keller's doing it, we got to do it. So I definitely feel that. One thing that we've done a little bit different is not necessarily been in an organized fall league. And I kind of like this is we've kind of gotten together with some schools in the area and kind of had some organized open gym.
Nice. Yeah.
And to me, that's gone a little bit better than a fall league. And I'm gonna echo what you said about, kids thinking that what happens now in September and October is what's going to happen in November and December, which is not the case at all. And you'll see it. They'll put out there who they think is the starting 5 like that. And then the guys that are coming next are thinking, well, I'm not going to play. I'm not a starter, man, we're in October. We haven't decided anything like that just yet. And you don't want to get those kids with these preconceived notions that this is how it's going to be, like you're saying.
That's right. And it's almost like we have to save them from themselves a little bit. Like everybody says they want to play more games until, like Coach Phil, until you're at them going like, what really is being achieved here? Because here's the thing: if individual development all year long is what we want, and then ultimately at the right time of the year, it translating into team success, like that's what we're going for. Just like when we talk about select games and how that really doesn't develop players, practice does. Skill work does. Those because the best players only have the ball in their hands for about 2 minutes in that game. I mean, if you really time it. And the lesser players, it's even less. So like to say that, well, my guys are getting better during that time individually, I don't know. I happen to think that 43 minutes of skill work in our athletic period trumps in one day trumps everything they'll get. Now, there's always like Coach Littleton's one of my friends from Flower Mound, and he looks at it as a way of, helping him to see, because they have so many people. Well,
Yeah.
like probably like you do, there's so many people, they got to make cuts. And it's like, I look at it to see, okay, give these guys a little bit more of a chance to be
Mm-hmm.
seen for an evaluation. I like that idea.
Yeah. Definitely. And I was talking to my staff the other day about this. I would love to have like a big research done on teams that play in all kinds of stuff in the fall. How does that translate to success during the season? I mean, is there at all? I
Yeah.
still about just calling every coach in the area and say, how much did you play this fall? And
Yeah.
then seeing how well these teams did. Because there's some great coaches that I've talked to that do nothing in the spring. I'm like, you don't play in anything? They're like, Coach, we do nothing. And it's teams that are really successful.
Yeah.
And I used to be that coach when I was younger that, man, we got to play. And like you said, they're doing so much. And especially at a place like Southlake Carroll, and I'm sure at Faith
Yeah.
they're loaded with homework.
Oh
They got
yeah.
all
We're
kinds of
very
academics.
similar clientele between
And
our
they need to be
schools.
kids. They need to
Yep.
be kids for sure. And you don't want to
Yeah.
overdo it. So I think it'd be great to get some data and see how much is really worth it.
I'll tell you the data what really solidified this for me, because I've always often thought like, unless God opens up clear doors for me that I'm supposed to be somewhere else, I'm very content with where I am and being faithful here. But the year that made me think, yeah, like we definitely don't need to be doing that. It was the COVID year, because
Mhm,
Coach, I didn't do anything with them in the spring.
mhm,
I didn't see them hardly at all in the summer, and then we actually went 6 weeks of just online at the beginning of that school year, and so that group had less touches with me than ever before, and they played the less. And we had a couple. I mean, we lost that Tyler Lumbley kid. He left that year. We had a kind of a brand new team, and now it's 5A taps. It's definitely a different level than what you're at. So I'm not, but we made it to the semis that year. We made the second deepest run we've ever made. And it was because of the players, the buy-in, the way that they worked
mhm.
together. They really cared about each other. But I thought to myself, okay, like I think if I'm not going to do the spring league, the summer league, the fall leagues, the shootouts, then I really have to make sure that I'm maximizing their time in the athletic period with skill work. We use performance course before school, just like a lot of schools do.
Yeah, we
And
did that too.
yeah, so it allows me just to be on the floor with the guys. But my thought is, if I do that right, then I can honor their time. And I try to think about this too. And my last point, because I'm rambling and this is your time, and I apologize.
No,
But,
so I'm enjoying it, coach.
but, uh, I mean, come October 17th, like I'm going to take 6 days of their year or of their week. I'm going to take their time.
Yeah.
And so why am I taking it outside of it as well? But I get it, that fear is still there.
Mhm.
It's the COVID year that helped me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, we talked about TABC. We did that as well, and you got to do it because it's great for kids. I
Hmm.
mean, it's helped. We got a couple of our kids have gotten recruited, and there's a couple I think got a great chance to play college basketball because of the TABC shootout, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But I was worried because you know we guys on vacation, we hadn't practiced, we had that the hour workout or whatever, um, and we played pretty well. We looked good. And I'm like, maybe we don't have to do all this stuff after all. And
Yeah.
and I think it kind of goes back to your culture. If kids are buying in, they're gonna put in the work. They're
Mhm.
gonna do what it takes.
Yeah. I think, especially if skill work is the majority of your focus. And I don't mean to, this offends any coach out there. I really don't mean it to be that way, but working on shell drill in the spring, I just start working on closeouts or blockouts, like work on their handle, work on their
Mhm.
shot, help them play 1-on-1 and 2-on-2, allow them to play pickup, allow them, like just to have an opportunity to experiment. Because coach, where do players experiment anymore? Because everything is structured.
Yeah.
Like you and I used to go to the playground and try stuff. And now they
Yeah.
they don't have that, because everything
No.
is select team structured, uh, high school structured, skill coach structured.
Yeah. Like you just said, I used to go to Grapevine Rec as a kid and just go play. And when I played at TCU, we only had a couple hours workouts a week. It wasn't very much, but we had open gym where you'd go play. And it's like these guys are doing so much. And
Yep.
I used to be that coach as when I was younger that, man, we got to, hammer them on this. But I learned real fast that let them play, let them get better.
Mm-hmm.
And now they got to understand that when we play pickup, it can't be, we're not going to waste our time. Let's get some good work in.
But that goes back to your culture too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's even if it's 45 minutes of good pickup, that's better than an hour and a half of bad pickup.
No doubt.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.